Hi, everyone, and apologies for the weird lighting. I had some contractors in, and they went through the electrical cable by accident, and therefore we've lost power to most of the second floor until we get an electrician in to have a look and get everything fixed up. I'm afraid this is what I've got. So partial darkness and mystery lighting and power strips and extension cords are in my foreseeable future until we get someone to show up and fix things. Anyway, I wanted to speak briefly on pedantics or pedantry. I think I may have gone into this topic a little bit previously. When I was a kid, it was challenging for me to answer any question quickly if it was sort of a demand of a thing. Did you do this particular chore? Did you go to the store to buy apples? Because I'd have to make sure that I understood all the pieces, kind of parse it out and contextualize and make sure that I was answering properly. And then more than some of the time, I would get the context wrong and I would give a stupid answer, what other people would consider as a stupid answer. As an adult, I've gotten better with that, of course, partly through experience, so a better understanding of what people want to hear as answers and what the context should be. But in MBTI discussions, there is still a challenge because we ask very vague, kind of broad questions often, and then to try and hammer down what is it actually that's important here and what's meant becomes sort of a conscious, detailed, time-consuming process. And this is why I have not agreed to do interviews, or one reason why. I'm just afraid that either I'm just going to be any sort of silliness or not say much at all, or else get bogged down in excessive detail that's going to make a bad experience for everybody. No matter which of these directions I go, I'm afraid that I would give people a bad experience. Not that I've been asked a lot of the time, or a lot of times, to participate in interviews, but when the channel was first getting started, there were a pair of typologists who had their own kind of flavor of typology they were exploring, who were kind enough to invite me to participate in their interview series of the different types. And they had already done some of these interviews, and it was in a 20 questions format. And the first question they would ask each personality type is, what is important to you and why? And it's a big, scary question, because that's something that one would spend a lifetime figuring out. What is important? And so I realized that either I was not going to give a good answer, or just a superficial answer, or just something dumb, basically. Or else we were going to get caught up on that first answer and waste 45 minutes, and then it was just not going to be a good interview. And since then, I have kind of continued to shy away. I don't want to go out of my way to be on any panels or any other stuff, just because I feel like I will not authentically represent myself or type. And it even seems a little bit weird to be, even though I do these things to sort of showcase the personality type, to appear on someone else's channel to be interviewed as an example of type seems sort of excessively indulgent. So for whatever reasons, just whenever I've weighed an opportunity, the rare times it's come, or when the potential was there, I've refrained from taking advantage of that. All that is the intro to the example that I'm currently working on that's made me think about doing this video, which is there was recently an example or an interview on another channel with a presumed INFP. And toward the end of the interview, there was one particular question the interviewer asks, which is, do you find it easy to do hard things? It was sort of a throwaway follow-up question. And it's been something that's been on and off on my mind for a couple of weeks now, because the whole question is, it's flawed, but inherently interesting, because part of the answer is to decide what is the proper context for this question. And so far, kind of the pillars that I've come up with are that, is it easy to do hard things? Well, everything has a cost in time and attention and energy and resource. Therefore, it is probably incorrect to say, is it easy to do hard things? It would be more about, how hard are things to do, assuming that everything has a cost? Even easy things have got a cost to them. I think the context was more supposed to be about, are there things that you like to do, and are those things that are more appealing somehow higher up on the priority list for you in general than things that are harder, or things that you consider less appealing for you to do? And it seems like the answer for that would be, or ought to be, related to obligation. So if there is a requirement to do a thing, then the importance of the requirement needs to be weighed against the cost of doing that thing. And that's where the determination can be made to say, is it easy for you to do hard things? Well, give me a motivation and give me a difficulty, and put them each of the sides of the scale, and let's see where the needle falls between the two. So a long way of saying the answer is, it depends. And a long way of answering, this is why I'm probably not someone who would be a good idea to interview for this sort of stuff. Because yes, I also speak in generalities when the requirement calls for it, which probably would make other people who are equally pedantic get as frustrated as I can be frustrating when suddenly I go from mode of describing generalities into the mode of saying, okay, in order to get the correct answer for the specific question, we now need to parse everything very carefully and nail down the definitions of each thing in order to come to a conclusion of what should be the correct answer for this thing. But there you have kind of one of the many manifestations, many possible manifestations of the INxP, because I believe that INTPs do a similar thing, but with logic instead of evaluation of the value of things. And therefore, well, if you do this sort of thing as well, I am sorry, perhaps the best thing that we can do is to develop kind of speaking habits, experience of understanding things to the point where most conventional questions can be answered in a more succinct way that isn't going to bug the heck out of anyone who just wants an answer. And we can still be eloquent about the way that we want to express ourselves. Anyway, that's all I've got. I hope that wherever you may be, that your lighting is in better shape than it is here. And I also hope that by the next time I might come to you, that I will have a better lighting situation myself. But wherever you may be, may you be having a good morning, afternoon, evening, or day. And bye for now.